welcome to my channel. I have picked a book for today to review, to do a long review of. I must tell you that I didn't find the entire book to be super interesting, so I'm only going to talk about the most interesting parts, for me at least, because I think it is the kind of book that we need more of now, because we live in such a digital world right now. Everything is happening online. Things that usually happened like in real life now are happening online. So everything is online: shopping, schooling, dating, talking, making friends. Like, we live now in a society where we're going more digital faster than ever. So this is why I have found this book to be, let's say, just relevant. This is the book, Surviving the Technological Alteration of the Modern Mind, IBrain. I really like the title because I think it just pretty much sums up what is happening with our brains right now, at least with the majority of the brains from this planet. This book is written by Small and Gigi Vorgan. So these are the authors. Let me read a couple of things about them. So Small is the director of the Memory and Aging Research Center at the Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior and the Center of Aging at UCLA. He is one of the world's top innovators in science and technology. Gigi Vorgan wrote, produced, and appeared in numerous feature films and television shows before teaming up with her husband, Dr. Gary Small, to co-write the Memory Bible, the Memory Prescription, the Longevity Bible, and IBrain. She lives in LA with Dr. Small and their 2 children. So this is a couple, and they wrote this book. So this book, as it is written on the cover, covers 3 main themes: key strategies for bridging the brain gap, a technology toolkit for digital immigrants, and tips for managing techno-brain burnout. This is a new term, a techno-brain burnout. It's basically that is happening when you're just consuming so much technology and you're sitting so much in front of your computer on a daily basis that at a certain point you just feel like tired. You just feel like, yeah, just like a burnout. So as usual, I've taken some notes, but I will make a little mix between my notes and the book just to make sure that I'm covering everything. So like almost like the last part of the book, it's useful, but I haven't found it to be super interesting, for me at least. So I will not delve into that as much. Yeah. So let's begin. First chapter, your brain is evolving right now. So digital technology is altering how we feel, how we behave, and the way in which our brain function. There is a myriad of statistics in this book that definitely scared me when it comes to the amount of hours that people spend in front of the TV or in front of their phone. It is serious serious time. Like if you just compound it, it's serious time. So on average, Americans spend nearly 3 hours each day watching television or movies. But the issue with that is that, according to a Stanford study, for every hour we spend on our computers, traditional face-to-face interaction time with other people drops by nearly 30 minutes. So the time that you're spending online or spending in front of your computer, phone, tablet, whatever gadget you might be having, that is something that takes away from face-to-face interaction. So it is not uncommon now to hear about people who spend hours in front of their computers, and by the end of that time they no longer have the drive or the energy to put the effort into the traditional face-to-face interaction, which is basically what we need. So the more you sit in front of your computer, uh, the more issues you're going to have with your face-to-face interactions. Um, a basic thing that is underlined in this book is the fact that the most predisposed to technology and the most eager to consume it and to spend a lot of time in front of it are young minds. So children, teenagers, these are like the consumers of technology, and they are also the most sensitive. So Gary Small says that there's something in this generation right now that is happening, is the brain gap. So this is a new term, and I think it will become mainstream in the upcoming decades, the brain gap. So what is basically the brain gap? So in the last couple of decades, like 20 years, let's sum it up, the rise in technology use has skyrocketed. So what happened? Basically, the ones that are older, or they didn't manage to pick up the pace. So it is a huge brain gap between the brains of the ones that got like born with technology, or they are just submerged in technology, versus the ones that just got left behind. And this is a huge brain gap between the older and the younger minds. And it's fantastic that it only happened like in one generation, because if you were to compare like the way people evolved throughout history, usually change happened very, very slowly. But now technology, like in the last 2 decades, it just skyrocketed, that in such a way that a lot of people got left behind. Just not to mention the COVID, which made a lot of old professors, for example, to retire because they didn't had the capacity to just adapt. And another statistic is concerning the fact that fewer young adults read books for pleasure now than in any generation before. So in this generation, currently 2024, we're basically witnessing this fact that nobody in the younger generation reads for pleasure anymore. This is quite shocking, and this is also something really, really new in our evolution as humans. The book introduces two new terms next to the term of brain gap, and I have found these two terms to be very relevant, and I also think that in time they will become quite mainstream in the area of research. So these two terms are digital immigrants and digital natives. The authors make a clear distinction between these two categories. So digital natives are the ones that got exposed to technology really early on in their lives. And digital immigrants are the ones that really try to make the transition and become technology savvy. So, according to this classification, the authors basically write this book. There is a talk about babies. There is a talk about babies, and I really like this talk about babies, and it should be, I don't know, it should be everywhere. This should be like taught. And the idea that the young brain of a baby is really, really plastic and really absorbent. So the amount of cell connections or synapses in the human brain reaches its peak early in life. So the toddler's brain is almost at the same weight as the weight of the brain of the adult. So the brain of a young baby cannot cope with too much information, basically. But if you leave your baby, something that I really see very often, and it's really concerning, if you let just your baby in front of the phone or in front of a tablet or in front of the TV, you are basically doing a very dangerous thing, because it's not good. It's extremely detrimental to their development. And even the American Association of Pediatrics recommends like TV is forbidden for kids under the age of 2. So I think this should definitely be taught, because I think people are not aware of the fact that it can damage their development, and it is very easy to like leave a baby in front of a screen just to have some peace of mind, something that a lot of adults are doing, and I'm not condemning, but it's very, very dangerous. And this is something that the authors really repeatedly put the accent on in this book. So it's important to be very mindful of this, because the stimulation that we expose our minds to every day is critical in determining how our brain works. It's just shocking, the fact that they have done some experiments, it's really shocking that the brain can adapt even to a toxic use of technology. So our brain is really a fast learner. So the brain basically altered its connections inside it after 5 days of exposure. Just 5 days. So if this happened in the brain of adults, what is happening in the brain of a baby that got repeatedly exposed to technology? You basically altered their brain. So it's mind-boggling. There are some statistics, let me see, about the amount of TV watching. So these statistics really shocked me. A study at the University of Texas in 2007, a study done on more than 1,000 children, found that on a typical day, 75% of children watch TV while 32% of them watch videos or DVDs, with a total daily exposure averaging 1 hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. Another study found that young people 8 to 18 expose their brains to just a staggering amount of 8.5 hours of digital and video stimulation each day. That is astounding for me to see that people, like young minds, expose their brains. It's like more than a working day. It's more than 8 hours per day looking into their phones. This has never happened in human history ever. And the effects on the brain, as the authors have definitely pointed out, are really detrimental. Basically, it's altering your neural circuits. It's hijacking your brain. So much exposure. There are a lot of statistics, definitely, but what's very mindful to consider is the fact that the brain is an it's an organ that adapts, and it's really plastic. But this can work like a disadvantage, because if you expose it long enough to technology, the brain will basically mold itself after that experience. So this is why it's really, really dangerous. Okay. So there are another two terms that I really found useful, and not only useful, but they are describing the society that we're living now and the modern brain that we're having now. It's the concept of continuous partial attention. So it's a continuous, but it's a partial attention. What does it mean? It means that people are doing this thing now. They are keeping tabs on everything while never focusing on anything. Like everything is open, like people function with 30 tabs, 30 emails open, or everything. Like we are at the peak of multitasking. We live in a society now that highly praises multitasking, and it is seen like a badge of honor, but it's a very mistaken idea, this fact. And not only that, but it basically wears off the circuits of your brain that are meant to help you focus. So continuous focus nowadays, it's becoming more rare because of this surge in technology stimulation. We also have the term of techno brain burnout, and I have personally experienced it, but I didn't manage to give it a name. So the authors say that this techno brain burnout, it's basically mental stress after working on the internet for hours without a break, and you are like in a digital fog. This is really true and really accurate, because I have heard of people, and I personally experienced this fact, that if you sit a long time online searching or researching or keeping multiple tabs open or trying to do anything pretty much online for hours without taking a break, it's definitely like it takes a toll on your brain, and you feel more exhausted than ever, even if you haven't done any physical effort. So this is basically the burnout, and a lot of people that like have jobs that make them like they cannot escape the technology trap, they feel this burnout super often. It's definitely something to be considered and further researched. Yeah. There is a good point that the authors make here, and I think it's a really fine observation that a lot of people maybe don't do or don't take into consideration, because now we have put technology on such a pedestal, in the sense that we think that we're living the best times of humanity ever, which we do in some regards, but in some aspects we don't. We are living the worst times of humanity. In what sense is that? The authors make this very beautiful and useful observation of the fact that spending so much time immersed in technology steals time from offline traditional brain stimulation. This is vital. We also need to maintain our people skills and our humanity. The problem with this thing is that if people think that technology is really like the best thing, and they are submerged into it and they spend hours, and they think you can do everything online, you can have friends online, you can date online, you can do everything online, this takes away from things that they could do in real life. So what do I mean more precisely? I'm going to just make like a comparison, like gamers, for example. There are like gamers that spend hours and hours and hours playing games, okay? But if you take them out in the real world, and they are like maybe in a dating situation, they just lack the skills. They cannot read, like they don't have that thing, like that face-to-face interaction in which they could recognize from the expressions of the other, okay, I didn't do this well, or I should do this better. Or they don't know how to talk, they don't know how to have a conversation. These are skills, these are like soft skills that no technology can teach you. You need human interactions, like real human interactions, face to face, in order to hone this skill. So, as beautiful as it may seem that we have everything in that computer screen or in that phone screen, it's taking valuable time from what makes us human. So I think this is a really important detail of the book. And it's one of the key ideas that the authors build their theory around, in the sense that they're not trying to make a villain out of technology, but what makes us human should be the first thing in our lives, and not technology. It's like, I think a good question for every person to put at the beginning of the day, or during the day, or even at the end, like, did the use of a particular technology for hours today made me a better human? So this is something really, really important. Okay, the second chapter is about the brain gap, technology dividing generation. Yeah, so as I have said in the first chapter, there is a very clear distinction between the digital natives and the digital immigrants. And the brain gap is the evolutionary change in the wiring of today's younger minds. So we are dealing for the first time in history with young minds that have a completely different brain wiring because of technology. Yeah. There is a very important information regarding exposure to technology for babies. Again, babies and young children. I think this is a very important subtopic of exposure to technology. And studies have shown that too much video exposure, even to these so-called educational videos, can delay language development in young children. Yeah, again, I'm not condemning the fact that schools or parents are trying to do the best with what they have. But exposing children to screens or exposing them to educational videos for hours, or just putting on their shoulders extracurricular activities that imply daily exposure to videos, it's really detrimental. It should be forbidden. In some countries, there is this use of interactive tablet in kindergartens. I don't know how it has passed, how people in the government voted for this. I think it's really detrimental. You are altering the brains of a lot of children by exposing them daily to that. And I think we're witnessing something like it never happened in human history. Such young children exposed to daily tech, daily videos, everything. I think there is a big trap with educational videos that can trick parents or even educators to believe they are doing good. I think screens should be definitely forbidden for small children, even in kindergartens. There is a very good point made in the sense that if teenagers spend almost 8 hours online daily, they know that they do not solidify the neural pathways their brain needs in order to develop face-to-face communication skills. Yeah. So today's teenagers lack face-to-face communication skills. They do not know how to communicate. As a proof, just do it as an experiment. I have done it for sure. If you go in a restaurant or in a pub or in a place where people gather to have drinks or coffee, just take a look at the tables where teenagers sit. I, for example, was blown away, amazed, and now I have been accustomed to seeing that teenagers, most of them, interact with nobody at the table. They just sit on their phones, and it's something really, really sad to witness, and it's really, really scary in the same time, because I think the saddest thing in the world is to have multiple people on a table where conversations could definitely thrive and have silence and just people texting. It's again something that we didn't see happening in human history. People used to meet up at a coffee to have a conversation, to look each other in the eye, to share experiences. Now people meet and they don't even enjoy the coffee. They sit on their phones and once in a while they exchange something. This is the worst kind of human interaction someone could have. And the brain circuits that we have, they do not get trained. So it's like use it or lose it. And when teenagers grow, they definitely need these skills, and exposing them to so much online time, it's really not helping them. There is a talk about video games. Again, I'm not trying to just like the authors, they did not try to vilify video games, but there is research, and studies and research don't lie. Um, what is happening in video games, and also applies for adults, not only for young minds. When you're playing a video game, the video games appear to suppress frontal lobe activity. So you're no longer using like your rational mind. You are just bathed in a bath of emotions, and usually those are emotions of like adrenaline and fear, or extreme joy. Like a gamer could go through so many mental states in one game. It's mind-boggling. But extensive video gaming makes kids more aggressive, and it also desensitizes them to violence when they see it elsewhere. And I have been shocked to find about this statistic, in the sense that as little as 10 minutes of daily violent gaming could increase aggressive traits and behaviors. Yeah, so again, I know that some game developers worked on developing like educational games. There are some games that can help kids with ADHD with focusing their attention. But I'm talking about basic video games that kids play, and also adults. Like, it's a big no-no. Like, if you can delay or just not expose your child to this, it's the best thing you can do as a parent, and also for yourself, because there have been cases where like the parents were serious gamers and they almost forgot they have a child. So video games are addictive. They are addictive. They're like a drug, because your mind gets so much rush, so much dopamine, so much. Like in real life, our brain wouldn't, like, unless you're living like in a very stressful environment, like at work, where you're doing, I don't know, you're like a stunt actor maybe. But in our daily lives, our brain doesn't go through such peaks, like very high, very low. Like it's basically like there is like a baseline. But in video gaming, it's like high, low, and it's super, super addictive. And it's a big no-no. So video games are a big no-no. Yeah. There are benefits of going back to the, now they're viewed like ancient ways of playing, or vintage ways. Just doing simple math is very beneficial, or just doing mental aerobics, like puzzles, reading, learning a musical instrument, the classical ways in which humans educated other humans. So although now reading, as you will be able to see in this book, reading is definitely a sort of mental aerobics. It makes you focus on one direction. It makes you make connections in your mind. It's not gonna give you a huge rush, but it's definitely gonna help your brain more than a video game, or even doing puzzles for sure. Yeah, the only thing that is really intriguing in all of this book is the fact that in the last 10 years, like with the advent of technology, there hasn't been enough time passing from this like explosion of technology in order to see how a young brain exposed to technology from early on is evolving. So we don't know how the brain of a digital native will look in the older age. We'll have the answer probably 60 years from now. But my bet would be that it would be a very damaged brain when it comes to soft skills, communication skills. So we do need interpersonal skills. And the authors make this very beautiful observation in the sense that future leaders in the workforce, because also jobs are changing now, there are jobs today that will no longer be relevant for humans to have 20 years from now. And what's happening, like the future leaders in the workforce will be the ones that manage to make a better world out of the two worlds, the world of tech and the world of interpersonal skills. The ones that will manage to keep their humanity and to be very good at reading people, at sensing the room, at knowing how to have a conversation, and also be technologically savvy. Those are going to be the leaders. Because there is of no good use for you on the long term to be a very good, let's say, programmer, like you're very good with computers, but you're only gonna be good at that. But if someone really needs like to talk with you or to have like a more delicate conversation, or you are put in a pressure situation, and you don't know how to handle yourself because you lack those skills, you're not going to go very far. So you're basically someone that has the soft skills will probably be your leader. So we do need the people skills. People skills matter a lot, and you can't get that from technology. This is a message that I think, like, if there's like one thing that should be retained from this book, is this fact: technology cannot teach you people skills. People can. So it's definitely an important point. Okay, chapter number 3, addicted to technology. Here the authors talk about what makes us addicted to technology, what is happening in the brain, what kind of buttons does technology push on us, including like when we hear like the sound of an email popping up, or we just got a text message. What is happening in our brain? So there is like a deconstruction of the biology of like the anatomy of addiction. There is addiction to technology, and in the USA there are some clinics that actually treat technology addicts. So the dopamine is responsible for the euphoria that the addicts chase. There is a talk about the anterior cingulate, an area in the brain that loses ground in addiction. Genetics can play a role, but it's not necessarily a decisive role. So you could have like a predisposition for addiction, but that doesn't, it's not enough to make you an addict. Yeah. Another shocking statistic: internet addicts spend 40 or more hours each week in addition to online work time. So I'm going to repeat this. So an internet addict is spending 40 hours per week in addition to the hours that he's spending online for work. That's a staggering amount. It's basically a person that the only thing they do is watch the screen and go to sleep. So 8 hours is like the sleep. So basically the other hours they're probably spending online. So there is no gap in which you could squeeze human interaction, in which you could squeeze time for nature, in which like that's the definition of an addict. So if they wouldn't need the sleep, they would probably spend the whole 24 hours in front of a screen. 80% of online virtual gamers are young men. So young men, it's usually under the age of 40. So again, this is why this is a generational problem, and this is a generational issue, in the sense that, again, never in the human history we had so many young men spend so much time online. Never. This is new for our society, and we don't know which are going to be the repercussions, like what's going to happen with them. How will they function in society? Will they be able to have a family, or will they even have the skills to date or to talk with a woman, and vice versa? Like also young ladies, it's new, it's something new, and nobody knows what will happen. There is a very important observation about addiction. No matter how strong the support system is, a person must truly want to quit an unhealthy habit. So you can't help an addict. You can't help an addict. I used to say, like, not even if like the Dalai Lama comes to talk with the addict, not even like if the Holy Pope comes to talk with the addict, yeah, it's not gonna help. Like that person, something, I don't know what, something has to be ignited inside of them for them to realize, okay, I need help, or I need to change, or help me, or I am willing to. So this is why this is very, very tricky, because if parents expose their children to technology, they're basically, it's like, you wouldn't give like your child cocaine, right? You wouldn't like go to your child and say, just have a bit of cocaine because I'm busy and I need to be free of worries for 2 hours. I don't think any parent in their right mind, they would do that. But handing them a phone or leaving them in front of the TV is like giving a drug to your child. And you will have to deal with the consequences of your child's addiction to technology maybe years after, and like the child is not to be condemned in here, but you have created the conditions for addiction in your child. So addiction, like the child will not have the capacity to understand that they're an addict and to want to give it up. This is why exposing young generations to technology is so detrimental, because we are basically creating the conditions for addiction. And it's really, really hard to give it up, especially if you have been used to from a very early age. It's really hard. I do not know, there haven't been studies in this book to make a comparison between how easily it is to give up technology addiction if you've got exposed to it very early on, like you are like in the young group, versus how easy it is to give up the addiction if you have been exposed when, I don't know, you are 50 years old. So how easy is it that? So a study like that would be very, very interesting. Okay, chapter number 4 is about technology and behavior. It's about ADHD, indigo children, and beyond. I had no idea what indigo children mean, and I have never come across this term. It's really, really new, and it's interesting for sure. Um, I will not enter. There are some criteria for ADD and ADHD to be diagnosed with. You'll find them in the book. Another thing about exposure to TV at a very young age. Again, this is like backed up by research. This is not just assuming. Um, so early exposure to TV contributes to the risk of ADHD. So I think they're like the arguments for just not do not have a TV in your home, basically, for me, after this reading like this chapter. Like, I don't have a TV. I don't own a TV, but a lot of people do own a TV, and it's almost like that TV is like in the room, or maybe it's in the bedroom, or maybe they have a TV in the bedroom and in the child's bedroom. So it's almost like if you wanna be on a diet and cut out sugar, don't have sugar in your house. So if you wanna give up fast food or toxic food, like, don't have it in your house. I see the same this as the same as with a TV. The author don't state it, but as I can read, and just don't have a TV in the house. Basically, it's like having a drug, or having like almost like having a drug. Yeah, just don't have it, because it seems to have so many bad influences on your family and on your children that it's really not worth it. It's really not worth it. Yeah, so internet addiction also correlates with a higher rates of ADHD. So it's not new. All mental therapists know this, that in the last two decades there has been like a very high rise in the rates of ADHD, autism, and all kind of attention deficits disorders. And I think it's not coincidental, the fact that this, like, we have a rise in ADHD and autism and behavioral issues, and in the same time we have a very high rise in technology use and technology exposure. There is definitely a link between these two, and I would add a third link. According to a Harvard psychiatrist, Chris Palmer, that also made a correlation between bad food. So if we have these three pillars for our society now, like like a lot of bad food and bad food choices, a lot of technology, and a lot of ADHD, we could see how they are all connected. So the more a child watched TV daily, the higher the risk of a diagnosis for ADHD. So I do not want to assume, I'm not going to assume, but there could be a link between, how could I put this, because I don't want to sound offensive, but in the same time, not out of neglect, but just because a lot of parents, some of them work so much now, they have like 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or something that again is new in our society, because back in the days people really prized spending time with their family. They would rather have not so much money, but I like time with the family. Nowadays everything is twisted and turned up, in the sense that people rather make more money than having more time with their family. Maybe, yeah, there is also like a socio-economic factor, but I would say that those kids that got left in front of the TV for hours and got ADHD are probably the kids that whose parents just didn't have the time for them. And it's really, really sad. Again, we don't know how that brain is going to look 60 years from now, but imagine, just try to imagine all of the neural circuits that that child or baby did not develop in front of that TV. So it's really, really sad. I have written here some stats about babies. Let me check. This book is filled with shocking statistics. Like, I love statistics, and when they are shocking, it's even more, I don't know, it can be motivating, like to motivate you to do something if you see these shocking statistics. So another shocking statistic is about babies. I'm just blown away that this is happening to babies. A study, so on average, a 1-year-old baby, spent 2 hours each day watching television. That's in USA. And by age 3, the daily average nearly doubled to 3.6 hours. This is shocking. Like I cannot imagine like why and how. Like, it's, for me, it's beyond words to leave a baby in front of a TV like for hours. It's just shocking. It's really just shocking. And as I told you, 1 in 5 American children under the age of 2 has a television in his or her room, and 1/3 of kids ages 3 to 6 have TV in their rooms. And this line shocked me. Most families explain that this allows them to watch their own shows elsewhere in the house. For me, when I have read this, I said, this is hell. Like, we do not have to wait to die to reach in hell, because this is hell. Because if you have a family in a house that wants to have a plastic screen in every room so they could watch some virtual thing on that screen for hours, isolated from each other, that is hell. Like, that is like, this looks like, I don't know, demonic utopia in which like people like in a house, they just want to be left alone, even if they are in a family, and they want to be left alone with their own TV show. And what's the point? This is something so shocking. And I remember when I heard of this thing, like people being in the same room, maybe a couple, and they are like physically next to each other, but yeah, it's really sad. This childhood, like childhood in front, it's really sad. But I have heard stories, and I had a really hard time to believe them, but now I do, of couples that instead of talking with each other, they texted, and they were like in the same room. I get goosebumps because for me this is hell. So just like, if people are no longer capable or willing to sit in their home, like that sacred place, and to enjoy each other's presence, and to be humans, just be humans, have a conversation, have a game, have a Monopoly, have a barbecue, like play games, like you could do so many things as a family. For me, this was shocking. And not only that, but I do not want to like cast blame or judge, but if me as a parent, I buy a TV in the room of my 2-year-old baby because I want to be left alone to look at my own TV show, here I think we need like therapy for the parent. We need new parenting skills. We need like a lot of treatment for someone who thinks like this. So this shows how addictive technology can be. It can, like, don't have a TV in your house, basically. I don't I haven't owned a TV in the last years, and I'm really happy. I haven't missed anything in this world. My life goes on perfectly because I do not want to get exposed to information that I do not personally pick. So I just, like, people say like a subscription to Netflix costs you so little. No, it costs you a lot. Those subscriptions and those TV time costs you face-to-face interaction. It costs you time that you could, like, go outside, enjoy nature, do hiking, do trips, get to know other people. That TV is costing your life. It costs you time. Nobody, like, and I think if people would manage to realize how much time they are losing, like, it can cost you, like, yeah, social media is the same thing. So just limit the exposure, basically. Just limit it. Turn your notifications off. Just have a schedule, like, okay, I'm gonna verify my email for 20 minutes today, and that's it. Do not expose yourself. It's addictive there. So every app and every, like, in every industry, they use psychologists, they use brain experts to develop a product that is going to appeal to the user. So they know how to trick you into spending more time. You enter to see one thing and you scroll, and 1 hour out of your life has passed. So I think if people would be put into the face of, if you know you only have like 2 years to live, would you rather spend 1.5 years in front of the TV to watch your favorite TV show? Like, this is ludicrous. So it's shocking. These statistics are from the USA. I do not know how the things are in Europe. But it's no wonder that we have internet addicts and TV addicts when parents place TVs in their bedroom and in the baby's bedroom. It's crazy. So I think this shocked me the most from this book. Yeah. There are studies about multitasking. I used to believe that multitasking is such a victory. It's not. Multitasking is not good. Don't do it. It exhausts you and it's not efficient. So the brain seems to work better when implementing a single sustained task than multitasking. So don't do it. Multiple studies show that multitasking leads you to fatigue. You feel tired, you're not efficient, but unfortunately we live now in a society where multitasking is highly praised, and a lot of jobs also imply multitasking. Again, as a society, we're doing some things really right, but we're doing some things really wrong. And multitasking, just like TV, should be like forbidden. It's really not good. It's a brain mush. It's a brain mush. There is continuous accent on the young minds on this book, and there's a mention about the autism. A study, again, this is not to blame, like parents who have autistic children. It is easy to point the finger and say, hey, your child has autism because you expose them to TV. This is not the point of this observation. But a study is showing that when more kids watch TV, when it, like, the imagine the study that they did. It was fascinating. They thought about one thing. Again, it was in the USA, because in the USA the rates of autism are at ultimate high right now. So they did a study that they wanted to check what happens when it rains? So when it's really rainy weather, and because when it's rainy, usually people sit inside and watch TV, right? And they wanted to make a study that could have the data from the weather, like in which states it's more rainier throughout the year. And let's see if that correlates with the high level of autism. So will we have a lot of children with autism in the states where it's really rainy and people sit indoors to watch TV? And they were right. There were high rates of autism in the periods where they had high precipitation and where there was cable TV in the household. It was shocking for everyone. So again, do not own a TV. Do not expose your child to TV from early on. You are creating room for autism. You're creating room for ADHD. You're creating room for addiction, and studies show this. I'm just speechless in front of this statistics. Okay, chapter number 5, high-tech culture, social, political, and economic impact. This chapter talks about brands. It talks about neuromarketing. Basically, those who make the marketing campaigns are very how could I say, they're very just ruthless, in the sense that they pair up with people who study neuroscience and brains in order to make their marketing campaign really hit your brain and make you addicted, or make you really want to buy their product only. So they are using a lot of neuroscience. Marketing is not about image. Marketing is about neuroscience more and more. So they had studied the brain of people when it comes to products, to certain products. And the scanning on the MRI has shown that a weak brand, so if you see a brand and you know it's not really a high-end brand, or you haven't heard about it, what's happening in your brain? So a weak brand activates the precuneus, an area in the brain associated with negative emotions. On the contrary, when we see an image of something that we like, that we know about, and we like it and we want it, there is an area in the brain that activates before you even make the conscious decision. So the scientists in the lab could predict if you would buy the product before you would open your mouth and say that you want it, because the MRI in your brain already showed that your brain took a decision before you could rationalize it and speak it. It's shocking. So basically a marketer, someone who does marketing, will know how to think their marketing campaign in order to make your brain pick their product even before you even take the conscious decision. Like, you think you have decided, but it's not true. Your brain decided before you. So yeah. There is a new term introduced by these two authors. I think it's also going to become mainstream in the scientific world. It's about the entertainment ADHD. What does it mean? It means that nowadays some people barely watch 30 minutes of something because they experience the fear of lacking something else. So it's like scrolling on something and then thinking, oh, but there's that show, or what if this is more interesting? So yeah, I have heard stories of people trying to find a movie to watch on Netflix, and they scrolled and they scrolled, and half an hour passes by and they start to watch a movie, but hey, maybe I saw another one, and it's like they can't focus. The issue now with the human brain in the, I don't know, era that we're living now is attention. Our brain is struggling to have a focused attention, and it's really, really not good. There is a talk about family meals. It's very important to have family meals. Traditional family meals have a positive impact on adolescent behavior. There was even a study about this. Unfortunately, it is not so very common anymore because a lot of parents and teenagers have different schedules. Parents work a lot. Uh, they usually eat separately. Like having that traditional family meal where we gather, where maybe the mom cooks and the kids help, or maybe even the father helps. It's like a bonding experience that rarely happens. Now, a lot of the times I see, and it makes me really, really sad to see that for them, family time is going at McDonald's or KFC, which is so bad for your health. But I could understand because a lot of people they find it cheaper to eat there, and they no longer have the time to cook because they're working like two jobs to have the money to buy that TV or that iPhone. But studies have shown that there are very clear benefits in keeping things traditional. So, as I have said at the beginning of my stream, and authors have also mentioned this, it is something new in our society what is happening right now. People are more disconnected and dissociated than ever. um, yeah, we need to go back to the roots of humanity. We need to go back and look at what our grandparents did. Like they had family dinners, they had family times, they played family games, they went out together, they had trips together. It's like if the only thing that now as a family people do is go at McDonald's, that's really, really sad. It's really, really sad. So try to cook at home, cook your own meals, watch the labels of the foods that you are eating. And family meals are really important for teenagers because they get to practice those face-to-face interactions. They get to practice those communication skills, like and we need more of that. And I definitely hope it will not become a lost tradition to have family meals, and people to start prioritizing what's really important. Having like more TVs and having more technology is really not important, but having genuine family time and genuine connection is really what does matter. Okay, so I get to the, as I told you, there are some parts of the book that weren't of that big interest to me, because they're mostly about doing questionnaires, and you just have to get the book. I won't enter into that, but it's about this. The sixth chapter is about brain evolution. Where do you stand now? The whole chapter is about a quiz that you'll have to do and see where you stand. Like how many soft skills do you have? How tech savvy are you? So I will leave that chapter for those who really want to delve into the book. Chapter 7, reconnecting face to face. A study has shown that people that chat with their friends face to face, not online, So if you talk with a friend, or at least at the phone, like hearing a voice, but definitely not online. So chatting with a friend like the old way, it improves your memory. You have better memory if you do that more often. And everyday social contact boosts brain power and cognitive abilities. So we need the face-to-face interactions, and it could be like with someone that you, I don't know, you go and make your groceries at a shop. Just talk with those that are like around the fruit aisle, or just have these small moments of interactions. It's what makes us humans, like the eye contact. Like now, every day, like I can see like how big stores are trying to make the shopping experience more impersonal, and if they could, they would eliminate or like all humans and only put like robots to cash in and give you the exchange. But it's really detrimental because it's in the small things that people do. Just imagine how would it be like you don't even go out of the house because you can get the groceries back home. But it's like not the same thing, because it gives you a certain experience to just interact with someone, to just have a casual conversation, to just smile, to these are very small things, but they do add up at the idea of being human after all. Because um, the danger of doing it otherwise would mean that we're all alone in our flats or in our houses, and we got food delivery, we got everything at home, but we are utterly and miserably alone. So it's really not good. um, there is a list of tips how to enhance your relationship skills and keep a technology overload at bay. Um, there is a talk about being aggressive versus being assertive, and there is a clear association between um, having difficulty to being assertive when you have low self-esteem. So people who lack confidence in themselves, they have an issue in standing up for themselves. So it definitely makes sense. And again, you can only work on that low self-esteem by putting yourself in situations when you can thrive. You can see, hey, I managed to do this, I managed to accomplish this, I am capable, I am worthy, I am a confident human being. But sitting indoors online for hours, it's not going to do anything for your self-esteem. It will only diminish it, or it will only give you a false sense of self-esteem when, I don't know, people like troll other people online and they feel a sense of power. But that's all online, because I'm pretty much sure that in real life, very little of the online bullies would dare to do that face to face to someone. So just, yeah, go out. There are two beautiful quotes among my favorite quotes from this book. It's almost at the end. It's about listening and being a good conversation partner. So the first quote: the best conversationalists are people who know how to listen well. Yeah, I think this is really deep. And the second one: good listeners have self-control, not just over allowing their mind to wander, but also over interrupting. This is again a skill that you cannot practice online. You just can't do it. I remember watching a video the other week, um, and it was in the context of dating and people talking so much via text. And the speaker made a very good, valid point, in the sense that if you spend a lot of time chatting and texting with someone, you are like a call center operator who works unpaid. And I was like, oh my God, that it's so true, because it does feel like you're like in a call center and you're just like texting when yeah, if someone would truly be interested in you, or you would be truly interested in someone, you wouldn't want to spend hours, days, months, maybe years out of your life texting. So it's really, really important. And when it comes to having these skills to listen, to know how to listen, to know how to be silent, to know how not to interrupt, you need the face-to-face interaction. People can write a lot of things on a screen. They can put an emoticon, they can put like a smile, like they could be crying and they could be putting like smiley faces. So do not believe everything that you see. Like, don't believe anything that you see online. Basically, that would be my advice. And because it doesn't match up with the reality. We all have seen the cases of like happy couples that were the happiest on Facebook, but in real life they were miserable. And this social media can really make you feel bad about your life, and you might end up feeling bad that your life doesn't seem so interesting, or it doesn't seem like you have like that other boyfriend or that other girlfriend seems more interesting, seems more than yours. And it's real dangerous mind territory to go on, because life can be boring. Life can be very simple. Life, like real life, like what we see on social media is like a museum. It's like a museum of curated content, curated life. You only see a glimpse, you only see the high peaks. You do not see the day-to-day life, which is real, which is human, which is filled with ups and downs. It has issues, it has valleys, it doesn't only have the peaks. And the fact that a lot of people choose, willingly or not, consciously or not, to submerge themselves into online world or TV world, it shows that us humans, that this social media portrays an unrealistic view of the world. And this is dangerous, because we have to learn how to appreciate the real world. We have to learn how to deal with it, how to tackle with it. And if someone runs away or finds a sort of a solace or a refuge in the online world, it can only worsen the things for them. So the art of conversation, you can only have it in real life. So I think that what we need now, in my opinion, is not to bash the technology, but to clearly indicate the things that technology does not offer. Because this is something like, okay, technology might be good in some cases. For example, in the medical field, it's really good to have technology, for sure. We do not want to go back 50 years back, but it's really good to underline the fact that what makes us humans, what makes us real, what makes us normal and flawed, and with everything that a human being comes in its beauty, will not be found online, and it cannot be trained online, and it does not belong there. It's a huge waste, in my opinion, of human potential, such a huge waste of human potential, to have people, like millions of people, submerged in the online world. If they could only get out and realize that maybe they have talents they haven't explored, maybe they have missed relationships that could have helped them a lot, or where they could have been of great help, maybe only then people will realize that online time spent excessively online costs you like years from your life, years that nobody's gonna give you back. Yeah. The 8th chapter is about the technology toolkit. Um, it's talks about the benefits of mental aerobics, you know, the classical games, playing chess, playing Monopoly, reading a book, having a puzzle, doing a crosswords, like the classical old age games. Those are good for your brain. There are also a talk about emails. If you can, avoid sending emails. If you can talk to the person like face to face, it's better. So if you only if the only option, maybe you work and you cannot reach all people face to face or via call, avoid emails. They're very impersonal. They tend to break down our natural tendency to monitor ourselves during conversations. This is why a lot of people can send angry emails. It's very easy to text something and send it, but you cannot see how the other, how the person on the receiving end perceives it. So email really cuts off the human aspect, and any form of text, don't have arguments through text. Do not try as much as you can, keep what you have to say in person. It's much better. It's much more productive. It makes you work your skills, your face-to-face skills. You are depriving yourself of valuable lessons if you do everything via email or via text. The last chapter is about bridging the brain gap. There's a lot of talks about seniors, baby boomers, millennials, Generation X. They're doing something like going through history and analyzing each generation, but without any particular focus on anything. This is like a last chapter of summing up kind of things. There is a talk about future network enabled telepathy. I would not be surprised if some people would basically choose to have some sort of device implanted in their brain so they could use their phone faster. I would not be surprised. That would be another form of hell, I think, because I don't know, it sounds very science fiction, but it's very, very likely to happen in today's society, where we have put technology on a higher pedestal than we have put humanity. Okay, so this is the book. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It has a lot of studies, so everything that I have said in here is backed up by science and studies. Main ideas: do not expose your children to TV. Eliminate, throw away your TV. Don't own a TV. This is the conclusion I have made after reading this book. Just do not own a TV and limit your social media as much as you can, and try to have as much human contact. And human contact means not meeting up on a coffee and each other sit on our phones. No, putting the phones away and look into each other's eyes and have a conversation, smile, talk about the weather, talk about caterpillars, talk about penguins, just talk about anything else rather than sitting in front of a screen and acting like you're doing call center in your daily life and unpaid call center work. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.